all protocols observed, good afternoon. We can pray. Everlasting Father, we are grateful this afternoon. We thank you for the gift of life. We thank you as Gloceps family and our stakeholders. You knew this day before even we knew it, O Lord. As we embark on this key activity of launching our strategic plan, O King of Glory, we pray for all our stakeholders. We pray for the executive director. We pray for our visitors today, O King of Glory, that you may see us all through. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, we pray, trust, and believe. Amen.
To our chief guest today, Ambassador Dennis Awori, the chairman, SIFAO Kenya, our executive director, Brigadier Retired Dr. Robert Kabage, Mr. Naif El Gatani, the deputy ambassador of the Embassy of Qatar, retired Inspector General, Mr. Joseph Boynet, Ambassador Professor Mwenda Sarangui of the National Intelligence and Research University, all the military generals present, Gloceps board members, Gloceps Council of Advisors, Gloceps associates, Gloceps staff, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Dr. Kennedy Asembo. I am the Associate Director, Research, Policy and Communication, Gloceps. It is my pleasure to welcome you today to the launch of the Global Center for Policy and Strategy Strategic Plan 2022 to 2027. It is themed on positioning Gloceps for enhanced research contribution to global peace and prosperity. We are delighted to have you on board as we unveil our strategic focus for the next 5 years. Gloceps remains committed to enhancing its contribution to the local, regional, and global policy agenda through excellence in research. We recognize your contribution to this process through the diverse expertise you possess in various fields. We therefore feel most honored with your presence because you have distinguished us as a true companion in the quest for research-led actionable knowledge. We thank you for honoring our invitation and sparing your precious time to join us in this event. To our guests who are following us online, please feel most welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce to you our vibrant Gloceps team that comprises excellent academicians and experienced research policy experts who have worked tirelessly to have this event realized. They define our way to success. Our executive director is Brigadier Robert Kabage. Thank you, sir. Our board members are Dr. Nicholas Ondoro, Ms. Regina Muyuro, and Mr. Alex Kabia. Dr. Ondoro and Ms. Regina are not with us here today, but Dr. Kabia, Ms. Alex Kabia is here. Thank you. We have a Council of Advisors who continuously help our executive director in giving direction, and they include Lieutenant Retired General Lazaro Sumbeyo, former Kenya Army Commander and a mediator of the South Sudan peace process and a council member of Kabrak. He's not here with us today, but we appreciate him. Inspector General retired, Mr. Joseph Boynet, the former Inspector General, National Police Service. He's here with us today. Thank you, sir. Ambassador Engineer Mahbub Maalim, the former Secretary General IGAD and the Chairman JQuat Council. I think he'll join us later. Professor Grace Njoroge, the Deputy CEO of the Commission for University Education. Professor is here with us today. Thank you so much, Professor. We have Professor Gerald Ouma of the University of Pretoria, South Africa, who is the head of institutional advancement and planning at the University of Pretoria. I know he's joining us online. And Ms. Jackie Mbogo, the Chief of Party, Tetra Tech International. Our non-resident fellows, our team of experts comprises our diplomacy and foreign policy pillar, Ambassador Solomon Maina. Thank you, Ambassador. Our defense and security pillar, we have Brigadier retired Faustin Tirera. Thank you. Colonel retired Godfrey Gitonga for the defense and security pillar. Our development pillar, Mr. Samuel Otieno. Thank you, sir. The ethics and governance pillar is Mr. Stephen Kiema. Thank you, Steve. Our transnational organized crimes pillar is Colonel retired Julius Munyori. I know he sent his apologies. The resident research fellows in the defense and security pillar is Dr. John Mwangi. Yes, Dr. Mwangi is assisted by Dennis Muniu Goro. The foreign policy pillar, currently we have Peter Mabwa Mbutia. And the development pillar is Mr. Michael War. Governance and ethics pillar is Mr. Stephen Nduvi and Ms. Sherry Omulando. Our transnational organized crimes pillar is Ms. Aida Gadoni and Valtino Omolo Awor. Our administrative support team comprises our executive assistant, Ms. Grace Musolo, our administrative assistant, Judith Peter, our resource and data center officer is Mr. Ken Ngatia, our graphics designer, who's been doing us the great job, is Ms. Lydia Philistas Aoko. Our office assistant is Helen Kinywa. And our driver is Onesimus Karaoke. And of course, with our environmental assistant, George Ragot. We are also pleased to have among us a former member of Gloceps who left us recently, Janet. Is Janet with us? Okay, good. Now, our administrative and support team, as Gloceps families, we appreciate that it doesn't make sense to hire smart people and tell them what to do. We hire smart people so that they can tell us what to do. And they have told us that finally we are where we need to be, and it is because we have a strategy. Allow me, our chief guest, sir, to play you a short documentary that is entitled Scaling the Heights of Excellence, the journey of Gloceps from 2020 to date. The technical team, please.
The Executive Director, Brigadier Retired Dr. Robert Kabage, Global Center for Policy and Strategy, welcomes you all to the launch of the 2022 to 2027 Strategic Plan. Our chief guest will be Ambassador Dennis Awori, the Chairman, Corporation for Africa and Overseas, CFAO. The center was founded in 2020 with the late Brigadier retired Charles Kangeve as the executive director and Dr. Kennedy Assemble as the associate director.
Being a leading global center for excellence in action research, policy influence, and strategy formulation.
The center's research activities revolve around 5 key pillars: security and defense, formerly defense and security, currently headed by Dr. John Mwangi.
Our data triangulation and validation is supported and informed by our engagements with experienced practitioners who are the non-resident fellows for the Global Center for Policy and Strategy.
Foreign policy, formerly diplomacy and foreign policy, initially headed by Janet Kiguru.
The diplomacy pillar, we seek to use innovative evidence-based research to advise on policy. We also craft strategies for states to adopt in advancing their stature and leverage in the national, regional, and global arena.
Transnational organized crimes, formerly strategic interests and transnational crimes, currently headed by Ida Gadhoni.
This pillar conceptualizes and initializes research focusing on mutual relations between nations and transnational organized crimes.
Governance and ethics, formerly public policy, ethics and governance, currently headed by Stephen Duvey.
The pillar undertakes cutting-edge action-oriented research to redefine public policy, address governance issues, strengthen devolution and the rule of law.
And development, currently headed by Michael Owur.
The development pillar promotes the center's vision as the epitome of action-oriented research around contemporary national and global development agenda.
The leadership of the center is currently under the direction of the Executive Director, Brigadier retired Dr. Robert Kabage, the Associate Director, Dr. Kennedy Assemble. The members of the Board of Management, Dr. Nicolas Sondoro, Ms. Regina Muyuro, Mr. Alex Kabia, provide the required stewardship. To achieve its vision, the center research process is guided by a team of non-resident research fellows who are veteran policy practitioners. Among them is Ambassador Solomon Maina.
The center does have the strategy of helping to create a platform for policy intelligence gathering, which I think is incredibly important in the contemporary world that we are living in.
They are instrumental in guiding the early career resident researchers. The mix provides strategic linkage between experience and research to advance key issues on development, peace, and security. The center is also supported by associates, among them Professor Noah Medamba, defense and foreign policy expert, and Professor Masharia Munen, foreign relations expert, who speak for the center on topical issues.
We are about to embark on an election that is very important in our country. Focus on eliminating corruption, bringing Kenya together because we have a real potential to make this country better in our international relations.
Thank you very much, Professor Noah Medamba, Senior Associate, Defense and Foreign Policy at the Global Center for Policy and Strategy. Thank you for coming.
A team of Gloceps Council of Advisors spearheads networking and resource mobilization to ensure the achievement of the goals. The advisors are Lieutenant General Retired Lazaro Sumbewo, Ms. Jackie Mbogo, Ambassador Mahbub Malim, Professor Grace N. Joroge, Inspector General Retired Mr. Joseph K. Boynet, and Professor Gerald Ouma. Gloceps was officially launched in February 2021 by Honorable Ambassador Dr. Monica Juma. She was represented by Honorable Peter Odoyo, former Chief Administrative Secretary, Ministry of Defense, as the chief guest.
First of all, this is a very exciting and very interesting and thought-provoking and creative innovation in the formation of this center.
The event also marked the launch of the center's inaugural bulletin, The Influential. In May 2021, Ambassador Nancy Karigidu, the Principal Secretary and Envoy Maritime and Blue Economy, launched the second issue of the Influential Bulletin at the Serena Hotel, Nairobi. It focused on domestic and regional conversations shaping Kenya's national interests.
Gloceps, as a think tank, has been actively engaged in churning out information, that impacts on national, regional, and global governance in collaboration, of course, with individuals and development partners. And today I'm privileged to witness the publication of the bulletin of their immediate efforts.
In December 2021, the Center lost its founding executive director, the late Brigadier retired Charles King'ethe. His vision for the Center shall remain a guiding light through all our endeavors.
It is our wish that we keep on expanding the research partnership to the experts of various fields who are here with us today to witness this launch, so as to keep on extending our research horizon.
May his soul rest in eternal peace. In February 2022, the new executive director, Brigadier retired Dr. Robert Kabage, was inaugurated at Safari Park Hotel.
We have learned with great appreciation the incredible work that has been accomplished so far by this great team under the wise stewardship of my predecessor.
In May 2022, the Center hosted an international conference on regional peace and security in Eastern Africa at the Serena Hotel. The event was officially opened by Ambassador Engineer Mahbub Maalim and officially closed by Lieutenant General retired Lazarus Sumbewo, among other guests from the region. Since its inception in 2020, the Center has undertaken the following research projects under each of the 5 respective pillars: the Kenya-Somalia maritime dispute, domestic and regional conversations shaping Kenya's national interests, promoting Kenya's strategic interests on the domestic and international stances. The Center has held workshops on global hydro governance and blue potential, prospects, impediments, and strategic priorities in November 2020, promoting Kenya's strategic interests on domestic and international stances in March 2021, threats and opportunities in Kenya's march to Vision 2030 in July 2021. Gloceps has also hosted webinars on safeguarding Kenya's electoral process against adverse usage of social media, redefining Kenya's research agenda in diplomacy, development, and security to augment global peace and prosperity, forecasting global and regional research agenda in peace, security, and development. The Gloceps research team disseminates research outputs through various media houses, regionally and nationally.
We have one of the best money laundering laws in the country. It's called the Proceeds of Crime and Anti-Money Laundering Act of 2009. It's abbreviated as POCAMLA. So under this act, and it's very, very well done, but again, as you put it, the issue comes in with implementation.
Somali is very fragile. There is no one center of command, and that is what geopolitical actors take advantage of, the fragility, the weak institutions.
From what we are doing at the Global Center for Policy and Strategy, analyzing the health system as a whole, is that we realize that the health system, the focus initially, especially with regards to silos.
In this administration, there has been much more emphasis on infrastructure, whether you're looking at a standard gauge railway, or the roads, or the ports, or the airports. That has been the focus of this administration.
To enhance its networks and visibility, the Center has forged partnerships and collaborations with the following institutions: the Japanese Embassy, the Qatar Embassy, the Kenya Institute for Public Policy Research and Analysis, KIPRA, the Kenya Space Agency, Tetra Tech, and the International Peace Support Training Center, IPSTC. Today, under the leadership of the Executive Director, Brigadier retired Dr. Robert Kabage, the Center unveils its strategic plan 2022 to 2027. This document will guide institutional development for the next 5 years. The Global Center for Policy and Strategy: Knowledge, Research, Influence.
Thank you very much, our technical team. Please switch on the lights. Thank you once again, our chief guest. Before we move to the next session, allow me to recognize the presence of Ms. Nancy Matimu, the CEO MultiChoice, who will be giving us the keynote address today. Feel most welcome. We have with us Ambassador George M. Orina, who is the Director General, Bilateral and Political Affairs at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Feel most welcome, Ambassador. We have Brigadier General, retired Ahmed Mohamed from the National Defense University of Kenya. And we have also with us Dr. Linda Musumba, who has been a key associate of the center. Thank you, Dr. Our chief guest, it is now my humble duty to invite Ambassador Solomon to make his remarks on behalf of the resident and non-resident research fellows. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Asembo. Good afternoon. Ambassador Dennis Awori, Chairman of CIFAO, Mr. Katemi, the Deputy Head of Mission at the Embassy of the State of Qatar, Ms. Nancy Matimu, the CEO MultiChoice, Ambassador Lieutenant General Njoroge, our former Army Commander and also our former Ambassador to Israel, Mr. Joseph Boynet, former Inspector General of Police, Ambassador George Orina, Director General, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Brigadier Robert Kabage, the Executive Director of Gloceps, Gloceps board members, Gloceps Council of Advisors, Gloceps associates, and members of staff, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed wonderful to see you this afternoon. We are honored by your presence. We appreciate the fact that you have taken time off your busy schedules to join us on this auspicious occasion as we launch the Gloceps strategic plan for the years 2022-2027. I extend warm welcome to all of you. On behalf of Gloceps non-resident fellows, I convey my congratulations to the Executive Director, the Board of Directors, and indeed, the entire Gloceps team for developing this strategic plan. The 5-year strategic plan, which we are launching today, was developed through a consultative process that involved the Gloceps board and management, the center's team of researchers, stakeholders, and our strategic partners who have supported our policy research since 2020. The strategic plan lays a blueprint to advance the center's research interests and expertise across its 5 pillars of security and defense, foreign policy, transnational organized crime, governance and ethics, and development. As Gloceps team, we are convinced that this strategic plan shall remain the launching pad of our mission to contributing to global peace and prosperity through research in security, diplomacy, and development. As non-resident fellows, we commit to fully support the successful implementation of the plan. Ladies and gentlemen, this strategy has been developed to guide Gloceps' contribution to the prosperity of mankind. It will re-energize our research focus and indeed embolden our partnership and networking capacities. We invite you to join us in the journey towards its full actualization. Rest assured that we'll reach out to you, as we have always done, to collaborate in a robust manner in unlocking the key issues that will propel the center to new and greater heights of policy and strategy formulation. We assure you that together we shall harvest the fruits of this important strategy. As I conclude, allow me to applaud Gloceps board and the astute leadership of the Center's Executive Director for realizing this important launch. I further take this opportunity to recognize the immense contribution of the entire Gloceps staff and associates. We look forward to the next 5 years with focused dedication, cultivating on the existing immense synergy, and most significantly, forging greater partnership and friendships. I wish you all a Merry Christmas and indeed a prosperous new year. Asanteni sana and karibuni.
Ladies and gentlemen, another round of clap for Ambassador. Thank you. Our chief guest, allow me to invite Ms. Alex Kabia to make his remarks on behalf of the members of the board.
Before commencement of my remarks as a part of the board, what I'm going to do, some bit of presentation, is some sort of a reflection I had today when I was traveling from London to Nairobi. Chief guest, Ambassador Dennis Awoli, keynote speaker, Ms. Nancy Matimu, the Center Executive Director, Brigadier Robert Kabage, members of the Center Council of Advisor, Associate Director, Dr. Sembo, and less than fellow, other members of the Center Fraternity, policy practitioner, academician present, Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Alex Kabia. Among other things, I serve as the Center's board member, and I am a distinguished Chevening scholar currently pursuing PhD in politics at the University of Bristol. I really appreciate, as a part of the member, to be invited in this critical forum. Indeed, as a part of the board, we find this forum critical because most of the attendants here today are experienced people in foreign policy, defense, security, governance, education, and economic matter. Overall, the strategic plan to be launched today will address these areas. Research in this area is critical not only for enhancing our country's strategic interests, but also contributing towards regional and global peace and prosperity. Specifically, we are of the opinion, as members of the board, that the Global Center Strategic Plan outlines the best practices for solving security challenges facing our country. These challenges can be solved through adequate research, asking proper frame questions when discussively outlining Kenya's security interests and other agenda. In research-oriented approach, the center will permit alternative positions necessary in advancing our national strategic interests. What we are saying is that, as a part of the board, is that the center strategic plan tie up the ends, means, and way that I find more critical when operationalizing the plan in strategic environment. Like in security institutions, I have previously served for many years. Implementation of a plan need a strategic leadership. Some few years ago, when I was acting as a head of international relations program at the Kenya Methodist University, a colleague and a very close friend asked me a very simple question. What advice would you offer to an institution developing and subsequently implementing a strategic plan? I responded in a very simple way: ensure the leadership of the institutions is not only focused, but also understand the strategic environment the
institution operate. Herein, as a part of the board, I urge the center leadership, non-resident and resident fellow, to critically scan the security landscape our country is operating for the purpose of ensuring develop policies and strategy commensurate with our strategic interests. Today, as a part of the board, we find the leadership of Brigadier retired Robert Kabage, Council of Advisor, members of the board, and Dr. Sempo critical in implementing, monitoring, and subsequent evaluating this strategic report. Distinguished guest, Abazeda Awori, keynote speaker, Ms. Matimu, Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, implementation of a strategic plan needs a critical mindset of all candors within institutions. These include and not limiting to permitting a conducive environment where various competing ways of knowing interact freely with each other. To earn this end, an institution becomes a melting point of an ecology of knowledge because way of knowing is decolonized. Subsequently, these build up to the culture of professionalism that is absolutely needed in think tank. My diverse experience as a professional footballer, as a young man serving the General Service Unit, analyst and researcher in the Office of Auditor General, adjunct lecturer in various universities, allow me to say that strategic plan need consistent mental conviction that is necessary in realizing desirable objective. We may also need deep moral conviction, which is very critical to enhancing peace and prosperity through sound research. A cursory look at the history provides critical linkage between grand strategic plan and advancement of national security and prosperity of various countries. As we stand here today, we are all aware how Chatham House, Brooklyn Institute, and other think tanks from the US, Western Europe, and China play a critical role in shaping their country policy and strategy in ever-evolving and complex global order. Distinguished guests, keynote speaker, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, there's no doubt that in several ways, the Center Policy Paper and Strategy contribute to one realization of our country's core interests within Eastern, Central, the Horn of Africa, and beyond. Increasingly, we find, as a part of the board, the strategic plan a critical document that will further guide the institution to realize its goal. From Nairobi to Niamey, from Cairo to Cape Town, from Marrakesh to Maputo, from Dakar to Dar es Salaam, Africa continue to face foreseeable and foreseeable security risks and challenges that are unprecedented. Peace within our continent has become a scarce resource in threat-filled environment. The West, where the perceived solution were cooked and served is currently stuck in terrible situation with no easy way out due to war in Ukraine, energy insecurity, economic meltdown, and fast-evolving global order. It seems the past is ruptured from the present from the future, when one attempts to conceptualize international order that will emerge, that will perhaps accommodate non-Western power. Chief guest, keynote speaker, ladies and gentlemen, today I was reading Charles Dickens' book when I was traveling. And I tend to think it summarizes whatever happening right now in the world. Allow me to quote a remark in the Tale of Two Cities. It has been oft times, it was best of times, it was worst of times. It was the age of wisdom. It was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief. It was the epoch of crudity. It was the season of light It was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope. It was the winter of despair. This summarizes how we operate as a state. The world continues to be murky, and this strategic plan that will be launched today will serve as a strategic purpose to ensure that our country and our children will have a future where they are going to prosper. The question I'll ask you today, what we are experiencing at the international level, will this lead to a more stable order? Is it the end of the post-Cold War order? These are basic and yet fundamental questions on the basis that no one knows the future and the future own in it. Ladies and gentlemen, to critically assess the long-term challenges beyond this release and come with a diverse policy option, both public and private institutions need to formulate a strategic plan that is going to be launched today. The formulated policies, strategic plan, must be understood within the context of the contemporary system of global power competition. In so doing, our motherland, Kenya, will identify how to align her strategic interests when confronting multiple challenges. Policy that the Global Center for Policy and Strategy we are going to develop will be underpinned under that adequate research as outlined in strategic plan. They will ensure a national leader build up consensus allowed strategic interests. Our states, as I conclude, will therefore be years ahead of the curve as it take advantage of opportunity in highly competitive and dangerous environment. Ladies and gentlemen, as a political analyst, this is not as a member of the board, I believe our state will survive in the international system that is the fair system. This, as we teach in ABC of international politics, of international relations, is that we need strategic plan. Mabibi na mabwana, mgeni mheshimiwa, mabibi na mabwana, tunapoendelea kuona Kenya kuendelea hapo baadaye, tunamakinika kwamba hii idara yetu tutafanya vile inavyotakikana ili tuensure kwamba Kenya inaendelea. Kwa hao machache, ninawashukuru sana kwa kuja, manake tutaendelea kushirikiana na nyinyi. Asante sana.
Another round of clap to our board member, Alex Kabia. Our chief guests are on behalf of the Council of Advisors. I take this opportunity to invite Professor Grace Njoroge, the Deputy CEO of the Commission for University Education, to make her remarks. Welcome, Prof.
Our chief guest, Director Gloceps, Dr. Kabage, our distinguished guests, staff of Gloceps, all protocols observed, good afternoon. I come to you with a lot of gratitude and humility because of the honor that I and my fellow Council of Advisors have been accorded to by Gloceps to sit as a team that they can harvest ideas from in terms of advisory. I come also with gratitude as I thank you, the leadership of Gloceps, for involvement in this particular exercise of not just launching the strategic plan, but thanking you, Dr. Kabage, and your team for the time, the resources, and even the consultations that you have done in developing the strategic plan that we are actually launching or participating in the launch today. As I stand here, I could be the youngest kid in the block of members of this great team. And therefore, as an individual, I bring my own thanksgiving. I don't know how I was identified, but I know I'm here and very willing to offer my advice in whatever area that Gloceps would find appropriate. I believe I talk for the council members that are here and others that are not in assuring you and your leadership that our advice will be very voluntary in terms of time, in terms of even being generous with whatever it is that Gloceps can harvest among us. We believe that our ideas, as we offer them to you, they will contribute positively in having very clear direction for the institution, especially in the development of appropriate policies and even strategy in this very sensitive area of security, and looking at it from many, many directions. So I believe it is in order, Dr. Kabage, therefore, to speak congratulations to you and your team for taking this organization to the next level of direction in terms of providing very clear guidance on the next 5 years from 2022 to 2027. I've taken time, much as I'm not an expert in all the areas that you have strategized to grow, to read through the strategic plan. And I am very excited to say that it is very comprehensive. I have gone through all the key result areas, what we call the KRAs, and it was very interesting for me to note that the focus in each of the key result areas is well defined, the timelines are so clear, and you have a very, very appropriate matrix when you come to your implementation plans. And therefore, my remarks will be just in form of a very short advisory, because 10 minutes are really a short time. I'm a university professor, so I don't know how to operate within minutes. So I have tried to really restrain myself from operating around hours, because we are used to the hours. So I'll just give a few points of advice in a way of looking at what it is that helps organizations to have a successful plan. Because I do know, having participated in many development of strategic plans, observing how the organization is actually doing the implementation, I have realized that it's one level to actually do the plan and to have it well bound and well done. But it is another really to ensure that those ideas are actually actualized to actionable tasks that are clearly leading the organization, and the organization is not being sidetracked from that which was the plan, so that it is very clear that there is special guidance that the strategic plan is offering. And for me, and I believe we have an expert to speak to us this afternoon, is a very continuous approach to communicating the plan and the goals that are in the strategic plan. I've realized that when this is not continuous and appropriate, that members of staff and the rest of us as stakeholders are well communicated on a regular basis on direction as provided by the strategic plan, we can have a good plan, but implementation can present a challenge. So I advise, therefore, on behalf of my team, that the leadership does offer that continuous communication of goals, of tasks, and not just communicating, but also looking at, number two, if there is a continuous review of what it is, what has been achieved within the time period against what was planned. I've realized that when the review is not in place, then people can wander outside the plan. So my encouragement this afternoon, in my few minutes, is that the organization will consider a strategic review mechanism of the process of implementation. And that can even be on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, but as regularly as practically it can be. When I say review, sometimes we want to review just the success, but also the misses are also important in our review. What it is, have we done within the time that we said we will do, but what also have we missed out? And what is the strategy, what we would call the remedial action, that would now help us to fast-track the implementation of the plan? The other one, as I bring this to a close, is the use of the findings of the review. Because we can say we meet regularly, weekly, bi-weekly, we discover we're not doing well here, but what are those findings being used for in terms of making a positive progress in achieving the strategic plan? The other point I wanted to make, I feel that from whichever direction we look at on organizational leadership, the matter of motivated teams goes a long way in ensuring that the plan of direction that the organization set to undertake is well achieved within the time. I do believe that the last thing, which is the resourcing, because we hear some good plans, we see them, but sometimes the resources to undertake the task becomes a challenge. As a council of advisors, we do trust that the resources will be commensurate to the tasks that are being implemented in each of the key result areas. I do appreciate you and commend you, but also wish you the very best in the implementation of this strategic plan, and look forward to, Daktari, a time of celebration, a time of saying, this year we achieved X. We may not have achieved 100%, but we can also celebrate along the way the milestones as we achieve them. So I want to say thank you for including me in the team, and look forward to a very successful implementation of this plan, and wish you, all of us, a blessed season, and God bless you very much.
Thank you. Another round of applause to our professor. Our chief guest, sir, at this juncture, allow me to introduce to you our keynote speaker today, Ms. Nancy Matimu. Nancy is currently the managing director of Kenya's leading video entertainment service, MultiChoice Group. In 2019, she was appointed by MultiChoice Africa to head the MultiChoice Kenya business and strengthen the company's provision of the best video entertainment on DSTV and GoTV, as well as ensuring seamless customer experience. Nancy is the first female managing director to head up MultiChoice Kenya business in its 25-year history. She has an illustrious 15-year career, having led and driven growth through transformation of businesses, capacity building in brand, products, and innovation, as well as sales and operational excellence. She has inspired high-performance teams to deliver extraordinary results in leading organizations with financial services and ICT sectors. Prior to joining MultiChoice Kenya, Nancy was the Vice President and Head Market Development, Sub-Saharan Africa at MasterCard. She previously served in HF Bank as the Chief Digital and Marketing Officer, and Safaricom, where she held various roles, including Head of Safaricom Home and Content, Emerging Businesses, Home Fixed Broadband and Content Business Development. She was also the Head of Department of Consumer Products and Services, Head of Department Internet and Content, Head of Department Enterprise Products and Innovation. She also worked in Airtel Africa as the General Manager, Marketing and Head of Products and Innovation Revenue Management. She holds an MBA in Strategic Management from Strathmore University, a bachelor's degree in Environmental Studies from Kenyatta University, and a postgraduate diploma in Marketing at the CIM. She's also a graduate of the Advanced Management Program, MPA, and Chief Executive Program from Strathmore, ISC, and Lagos Business Schools. Additionally, Nancy dedicates her time to serving at the board of local and global firms. She's currently serving as a vice chairperson of KCA University Council, in addition to being the chairperson in charge of the Strategy and Business Development Committee. She's also a member of the Global Board of Trustees for Education Sub-Saharan Africa and serves as a business engagement lead. For her invaluable work, Nancy continues to be recognized by some of the most important and influential publications and organizations. Among them, Business Monthly, Top 25 Most Influential CEOs Impacting Businesses in 2022, Business Daily SBS, Women Leaders Breaking the Glass Ceiling in Corporate Kenya, Avance Media 100 Most Influential Women in Africa 2021, and she also won the Safaricom CEO Award in 2016 for product innovation. I humbly invite you, Madam, to speak to us on the role of strategic planning in organizational management, practical reflection. Welcome, Madam.
Thank you very much. I'm going to request the person managing the screen to kindly load the presentation. And as I do that, our chief guest, the Ambassador Dennis Awori, the Executive Director of Gloceps, Brigadier Kabage. I'm meeting you for the very first time, but I have seen Ambassador Dennis Awori a lot of times and read your articles and what has been written about you a lot, so I almost think that I know you. I'd also like to recognize Ambassador Solomon Maina, the board members that are present, the Council of Advisors that are present, and all the members that are invited. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to request that we kindly reduce the lighting because I will refer quite a bit to the presentation. And if there is a click I could use, or you could assist me advance the presentation. So I'm going to go straight ahead and just share with you. I'm told you're very expectant to hear what I've got to say, and I wish maybe you had not read such a long bio, because then the expectations are set extremely high. But I'm going to share with you my experience, not just where I'm working today in the teams that I'm leading and in my management capacity, but what also I have picked and observed over the times. And some of the most pivotal organizations that I have worked with, leading telco organizations, leading payment institutions, leading mortgage organizations transitioning to retail, and then the work that we're doing in leading a business at the point of inflection when we are facing quite a bit of hyper competition in the marketplace. And therefore, what increasingly must be the role of strategic planning in organizational management. And therefore, if you could go to the next slide, the specific conversation that I'm going to have with you is a lot. The first reflection is, what do we do as managers? So if you look at the structure of the expectation of governance structures, is that strategy is really the realm of the top leadership. It is in the realm of the Council of Advisors, the board. But then management, we are tasked with implementation and executing strategy. So what do we actually do on a day-to-day basis every day? And what should we be actually doing? And where really does strategy fit? And what precedes the other? Is it management? Is it strategy? And those are questions that we often ask ourselves. And those of you who have joined, I'm sure all of us have joined new organizations at one time or the other. And when you start, what was the first thing that you did as a leader or a manager? Was it to immediately run with execution, or check the tasks that are happening every day, or look at the strategy? And how did you avoid the pitfall of falling into an area that we have been told is called being busy with busyness, and not being busy with a business? So you're too busy doing things every single day, extremely busy with busyness, but not actually executing what business is. So just focusing on this slide, I'm going to stay here for a bit of time. Where management and leadership are considered ideally as Siamese twins increasingly is because one can't exist in the absence of the other. And strategy, pretty much, strategic planning helps define what each of these persons or these roles and organizations, organizational management should actually be doing. So what, and I will give you an example of, I will not name the organizations, but you've seen the organizations I have had the privilege of working for. And I recall going into my first meeting and meeting my senior leaders and in the management meeting, and they were each presenting their function priorities and their plans. None of the plans was speaking to the other, absolutely none. None of the plans was actually speaking to the strategy of the organization. And at the end of the meeting, I said, we've just had a feel-good meeting. We've come in and presented what you thought and I thought and each one of us thought was good and relevant in my function. But it's not speaking to each other, and it's not speaking to the strategy. And that's what Professor Grace has just referred to as the discord that can sometimes happen between management functions and leadership. So in the first place, if you look at what really management is, we sit every day, we plan, we come up with budgets. How do we ensure that we are actually putting resources in the right places? We also are busy organizing and determining what to prioritize and what not to prioritize. What do you use to calibrate or recalibrate and determine whether you are actually prioritizing the right items and the right expenditure and the right use of resources? Then when it comes to leading, because that's an integral part of leadership, where do you draw your leadership mandate from? And then finally, in controlling, which is an integral element of governance. With governance, the first primary and most basic level of governance is the meetings that you have. What are you talking about? What you're discussing? What are you referring to in your meetings? And again, I refer to Professor Grace again, who spoke about the need for us to be able to have a mechanism to continuously evaluate and check whether we are actually executing and delivering and implementing the strategic plan. So therefore, if you look at what management really does, we, on a daily basis, are charged with the responsibility of leading and drawing our leadership mandate from what has been put together and ratified by the board and the Council of Advisors or boards of trustees. And in the absence of that, we would not be able to influence and inspire in the right direction. Neither would we have clarity for what the common goal is. And therefore, where does that mandate come from? We all speak to a vision. We stand for a certain mission. But how we implement and realize that vision sits in the strategy. So if management is completely far removed from what the strategic plan is, then we are obviously busy with business and not busy with business. And therefore, when you also look at what we do as management and leaders, we are charged with the responsibility of defining the culture, the behaviors that we require to be able to succeed and meet and realize our vision. And that really is defined in the strategic plan. The enormity of the task, the magnitude, how ambitious it is, even defines the operating model and the quality of people that you hire to be able, or that you work with, to be able to deliver and give impetus to the force that is going to deliver on the strategy. And that's how then we can have great execution. So practically, it is absolutely impossible for management to actually do their work without a strategic plan. And in the absence of a strategic plan, leaders cannot influence and inspire and rally people towards a common goal. It is the language that we speak every day. It is the language that we speak in meetings. It's the language that we speak with all stakeholders. And therefore, all of us must speak and therefore sing the same tune. So if we go to the next strategy, the next slide, what happens when we don't have a strategy? But we are still coming to work every day. We are having meetings with stakeholders. We're having sessions. And inadvertently, we're actually very busy with business. And the first thing is that automatically, because I am doing my own thing in my own little function, we encourage silos. We encourage unhealthy competition. We encourage or sort of propagate fights between the top management, the board, and the teams that are charged with execution. And what happens is that there's a clash of plans and there's a complete discord in language in every forum. And at the end of the day, it's a complete waste of resources, whether it is time, whether it is money, whether it is people. You possibly will say, we hired the wrong person. But why did we hire the wrong person in the first place? Because we did not draw or we did not check or borrow from what the strategic plan expects us to do. On the other hand, in leadership as well, management and leadership must speak and sing the same song. If we do not have a proper strategic plan or a clear strategic plan that we all speak to, it's impossible to rally teams and inspire teams towards a common goal. What would it be anyway? What is the one thing that we are going for? What is the one thing or the 5 things that we have said that we will do? What are our strategic pillars? You cannot have, it's impossible, absolutely impossible. So at this point, I just want to share with you an experience that I had not so long ago. And I walked into my first, again, leadership meeting in one of my assignments. And in that meeting, we also had a guest. And the guest asked us, what is the one number that you're chasing? And nobody in the room could answer. What is I work in commercial organizations. What's the one number that we are chasing? Okay. Who exactly are we enriching and whose lives are we enriching when we say that our brand purpose is enriching lives? And we had all sorts of different answers. What is your biggest investment in marketing? And in where have you focused it? And at the end of the day, we realized, but because the fact that we do not speak the same language, we don't draw our conversations and meetings and focus, and even our planners and our planning tools and trackers, then what then would happen is that everybody is busy with business, we're expending money for the organization, but we are not actually working towards the common goal and the brand purpose. And you can imagine at the end of that quarter what happened and how the reviews at operation level and board level looked like. So if you go to the next slide, I'd like us to play the video for a moment. If you just click next. There should be a video playing or some music playing. Previous. Okay, at the very top, where there's the image. Yeah, thank you. I've spent 2 days, the last 3 days, Saturday, Sunday, and a good of Monday with the president of this country. And his focus on technology and innovation and the digital economy is enormous. So if all of us are unable to play this, then we are not possibly moving with the strategic plan and priorities of our president, His Excellency Dr. William Ruto. So anyway, yeah, please go ahead. Okay, you can stop and go to the next slide. Did you get a headache for a minute? What instrument was playing? All of them or none of them, or you can't quite tell which instrument is playing. In the absence of a strategy, everybody is busy with their own instrument and trying to get an instrument. So if you go to the slide that has, just go to the next slide, please. Go to the next slide. Yep, so if you look at this slide, this is an orchestra, that's very poorly organized, and you're trying to figure out, even to find space, to be able to find where the drummist is, and when the drummer is busy, the drummist is busy trying to play the instrument, there's somebody else trying to play the trumpet, there's somebody getting hit and banged at one point or the other. It's a complete clash and complete chaos. When we don't understand our strategic planning and priorities, that's what happens. We are very busy, absolutely busy, but in a completely chaotic environment. And even when, again, as I said, if you go to the stakeholders and you want to speak and tell your narrative, the narrative is different from one leader to the other. So if you look at what happens when we all draw, and we all must draw, the role of strategic planning, practical experience in bringing organizational management to its highest level of excellence is simply in driving management efficiency and leadership excellence. Because you are drawing from the same script, you have clarity of vision, and therefore can be able to prioritize, and you know exactly where to put your resources. Sorry. I lost my slide. Next slide. Yep, that's where we are, okay? You don't have silos anymore because we are all speaking to the same language. Teamwork and collaboration becomes the order of the day. And it's not just teamwork and collaboration, you also get goodwill externally because you continue to reinforce the same narrative and conversation outside. And then finally, you get, obviously, a high return on your investment, whatever investment, whether it is time, whether it is people, whether it's effort. And therefore, it is so important that management understands the strategic plan and not only understands, but lives strategic planning and the execution of that strategy every single day. On the other hand, remember, management and leadership are Siamese twins. And again, even I as a manager, I'm expected to lead and work together with the leadership to drive the vision of the organization and deliver on its mission. It provides clarity to the vision, and the picture of success becomes more clearer, not just to we as leaders, but the teams that are working with us, including our partners, including the teams at the lowest level, including every stakeholder, whether it's our diplomacy, security stakeholders, everybody understands what we're trying to do. And therefore, Because of the clarity of goals, there's increased certainty of success. So if management, again, is busy working on something, and we always used to say, if you're spending your time today not focusing on executing strategy, you've actually not worked for the organization. You've been busy working for somebody else. If you have also spent time and money not executing and implementing the strategy, which is what we check every week, every month, and every quarter, you've actually expended resources not promoting the organization's objectives, but somebody other objectives. It's also very important that as part of understanding strategy, then at the end of the day, leadership and management understands the necessary culture that is required in that organization. And I'll give the example of my organization. How many of you watch DSTV? Now, you're just saying because I'm in the room, okay? How many of you are watching YouTube? Okay, that's because the majority of you are over 50 years old, so the younger ones would be watching YouTube, right? Who is watching Showmax and Netflix? Okay, 2 of you. In this room, we have less than what is the real percentage of the Kenyans today. 70%, over 70% of Kenyans are below the age of 20 today, 20. They are not watching DSTV as we know it. They're watching DSTV via streaming. They're not watching Showmax. They're not watching what you watch on Citizen. They're watching Showmax. So we're at a point of inflection. And our strategy is actually hinged on the future of video entertainment on digital. And therefore, when we sat down to review the operating model, one of the things that we realized, the world is moving very fast, sense of urgency. So the way we do things, the energy, the passion, the execution had to be at a very high level. We had to go back and redefine our behaviors. We had to go back and redefine the culture and our DNA, because that is what then was going to become the power that was going to fuel the strategy for the future. We had to redefine the people that we hire. All that sits in the strategy. You know, so if the management does not understand the strategy, we will be busy hiring Dennis Awori, Ambassador Dennis Awori, and we need possibly, I'm not so sure, I'm looking at the room and wondering who is the youngest person that you would know, but we have really young people and youngsters like Chipukizi. Instead of hiring Chipukizi, you'll be hiring Ambassador, all due respect to the ambassador. So, and that's basically what happens when management doesn't understand strategy. And then at the end of the day, we say these people don't understand what they're supposed to be doing because we actually hired the wrong people. So it's very important to understand the role of strategy in also defining the culture that you need and also promoting and advocating the culture that you require to drive every single day and champion as a manager and as a leader with your team for us to be able to achieve this. So if you work to certain organizations like Safaricom, I can tell you that every person that you meet from Safaricom, they possibly have a particular DNA that you can actually tell this person works for Safaricom. If you come to MultiChoice, you will see the same quite overtly, the enthusiasm, the energy, the passion, because those are very specific, intentional, cultural elements that we have defined to deliver on the strategy. And then the last one is that when you have a clarity in strategy, even it becomes very easy for you as managers to be able to influence and inspire, and therefore to have a high drive and high level of inspiration amongst your teams. And then in closing, if you go to the next slide. So we'll listen to it's okay, just continue playing it. So I want you to notice the difference in the orchestra this time around. That's a standing ovation to continue. That's a standing ovation from the audience, even before they start playing. Oh, just continue, don't stop. So you'll get to hear there's a standing ovation, there is a lot of expectation. Do we have sound? can stop. So I'm sure you didn't get a headache. Did you get a headache this time around? Could it tell different instruments coming at different times? And the point when you need to be on crescendo, so you're not constantly spending money all the time. You spend money when you need to spend it, and then you have moments of quiet when you need to. And that's what basically a proper organization that understands strategic plans and executes them with clarity, that's the way we should operate, like a very clear orchestra, an orchestra that is well organized, and often even your brand and your organization positioning improves, and it's expectant that everybody, and also your audiences are expectant. When people come to you, they come to you waiting. When you go to people, they come because they know that the message they had from the leadership, right from the Council of Advisors to the board, to management, to the person that is executing at the lowest level, is consistent all the way. And every meeting, we are speaking the same language, whether it's an external meeting or an internal meeting. Your partners get to understand exactly what you stand for and where you're focused, whether it's time and the narrative runs all through. So I'd like to close by saying, if what you're doing in management in every of the moments, your meetings, and it's not speaking the strategic plan that we are going to launch here, it's actually being busy with business and not being busy with the actual business of Gloceps. And I'd also like to say that at the end of the day, we as managers, we are responsible for actually driving the understanding of the strategic plan across the entire organization. In the absence of a strategic plan, we have no mandate. And in the absence of effective cascading to the lowest level, we cannot say that we are doing a great job. So the role of strategy and strategic planning in organizational management cannot be understated. It is what we do every single day. Thank you very much, and I wish you a great launch today and a great execution and realization of your strategic goals and objectives. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, another round of clap to Madam Nancy. Thank you so much, Madam Nancy Matimu. You understand why I had to read that long CV. I didn't want anybody to ask me after that, who is Nancy? Yeah, it's been great. You have delivered to our expectations. Our chief guests allow me to take this opportunity to invite my boss, our executive director, Brigadier retired Dr. Robert Kabage, to make his remarks. I would like us to give him a round of clap as he comes over. Karibu sana, sir.
Thank you, Doc. Our chief guest this afternoon, Ambassador Dennis Awori, Chairman CFAO, Kenya Limited. Ambassador George Orina, Director General, Bilateral Political Affairs, Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs. Ambassador Lieutenant General Retired, ESK Joroge, my mentor. IG Retired, Mr. Joseph Boynet. Our keynote speaker, Ms. Nancy Matimu, and thank you so much for your presentation this afternoon. Gloceps board members present, Mr. Kabia, thank you for traveling overnight to be here today from UK. We really appreciate it. Gloceps Council of Advisors, Professor Joroge, you indicated you are the youngest. Yes, it's true, you are the youngest, because you are I think you are the last one we were able to get as our Council of Advisors. IG Boynet is also one of our Council of Advisors. Gloceps Associates, Professor Macharia and others, Gloceps staff, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Good afternoon once again. Allow me to start my remarks this afternoon by sincerely thanking all of you for finding time from your busy schedules to join us today as we mark yet another major milestone in our history, the launch of our inaugural Strategic Plan 2022-2027. It actually gives me great pleasure to be part of this historic event. The plan that we are about to launch today defines the direction that Gloceps will take in the next 5 years. It is a product of extensive and inclusive consultations between the center and our stakeholders. This ensured that the outcome document is as comprehensive as possible and aims at positioning Gloceps for enhanced research contribution to global peace and prosperity. At the risk of becoming repetitive, I wish to introduce Gloceps. We are a think tank based here in Nairobi, Kenya. We were founded in the year 2020 to address an existing gap in evidence-based research for policy influence and strategy formulation. We provide strategic linkage between experience and research by bringing together outstanding professionals, thought leaders, and academia to advance key issues on peace and prosperity. The center's work cuts across 5 pillars, namely security and defense pillar, foreign policy pillar, transnational organized crimes, governance and ethics, and development pillar. In the last 3 years of our existence, we have developed products that have increasingly made policymakers appreciate the value of action research. Although Ms. Matemu, you will say that we were operating without a plan. Yes, and that's why we realized that we needed a plan. And it is good that we realized that gap. We therefore believe that the development, launch, and successful implementation of this strategic plan will propel this institution to greater heights as it seeks to grow its national, regional, and international influence. The strategic plan that we are about to launch has identified 7 key resort areas that Gloceps will need to focus its effort and resources during the next 5 years. The first KLA is research and dissemination. And this KLA seeks to mainstream research as an integral component of the center. It has prioritized strategies that will promote timely production and dissemination of quality research products that will increasingly influence policy and strategy formulation. The second KLA is resource mobilization and financial sustainability. This one identifies measures that will contribute to enhanced mobilization of resources to enable the center achieve its mandate. It also proposes financial sustainability interventions that will guarantee the center's long-term viability and survivability. The third one is human resource and intellectual capacity. This KLA recognizes that our human resource is our greatest asset. It prioritizes strategies to develop the center's human resource capacity by enhancing their abilities, knowledge, and experiences, which are crucial for our mandate achievement. The fourth KLA is strategic engagement and visibility. It identifies strategies that will strengthen the center's corporate image and communication capability. The fifth one is infrastructure development and maintenance. This KLA
identifies the inadequacy of infrastructure and workspace in the center. It therefore prioritizes efforts to allow timely infrastructural expansion and growth to cut costs on the current hiring and renting costs that we suffer at the moment. The sixth one is information, communication, and technology. This one seeks to harness modern technology to support the center's functions and increase its efficiency. The final KRA, and of course not the least, is corporate social responsibility. It seeks to prioritize the center's participation in community engagements with a view to impact positively on the environment and livelihoods. This is intended to increase the center's standing, visibility, and corporate identity. It is also worth noting, as Professor indicated, that each of these KRAs are supported by clearly spelled out implementation objectives that will facilitate the acceleration of the center's aspirations. I also note with satisfaction that there is a monitoring, evaluation, and reporting framework that is embedded in the plan, which will surely aid in its timely implementation. Ladies and gentlemen, today's ceremony is equally a celebration of the center's tremendous achievement of key milestones over the last 3 years. As was demonstrated in our historical documentary, other key activities that are taken by Gloceps that we also celebrate today include conduct of a successful expert workshop on global hydro governance and blue economy potential, focusing on impediments and strategic priorities, which was conducted in late 2020. In 2021, we launched our flagship journal, the Influential Bulletin, in early 2021. The same year, we convened an expert workshop on promoting Kenya's strategic interests on the domestic and international stances. And towards the end of the year, we launched our second and third issues of the Influential Bulletin. Among the key activities accomplished this year is the hosting of our inaugural conference focusing on the future of state stability and development in Eastern Africa. This was held in May this year at Serena Hotel, and we have also developed the fourth issue of our Influential Bulletin. Publications containing all papers presented during the conference and a copy of the fourth issue of the Influential Bulletin will also be released today alongside the strategic plan. It is our pleasure to share with you a copy of these publications. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to once again thank all those who participated in one way or another in the development of this strategic plan. To our board members, thank you for shaping the document to what it is today. You know the journey we have traveled together. I also wish to sincerely appreciate our consultants whose ideas drove the initial conceptualization of this plan. Our staff too have been very supportive during the entire process, and we are proud of their individual and collective contributions. I also wish to profoundly thank each one of you for honoring us with your time today. To you all gathered here and those engaging us virtually, asanteni sana. I finally wish to appeal to all our partners and stakeholders to support us deliver on this plan. As we embark on the next phase of the program, the launch event, allow me to introduce our chief guest this afternoon, Ambassador Dennis Awori. Ambassador Awori is one of our eminent sons. He's a distinguished diplomat and a respected captain of industry, whose influence is felt at national, regional, and international levels. Ambassador Awori has spent most of his working life in the motor industry across East Africa. in which he has held various positions, including sales and marketing manager, branch manager, general manager, managing director, and chairman. He was the founding vice chairman of Kenya Private Sector Alliance, KEPSA. He was also the founding chairman of the KEPSA Foundation and a trustee of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Between 2003 to 2009, Ambassador Awori served as Kenya's ambassador to Japan and Korea, where he built strong relations between Kenya and the two countries, especially through private sectors, in keeping with Kenya's focus on economic diplomacy. Upon his return, he rejoined the private sector as chairman of Toyota East Africa Limited. In 2017, he was appointed to his current post, chairman and country delegate, Corporation for Africa and Overseas, CFAO, Kenya Limited. This is a group with presence in 35 countries in Africa and does business in another 19 countries through independent dealers. Ambassador Awori has also served on the boards of Communication Commission of Kenya, Kenya Vision 2030, and the country's new partnership for Africa's development, NEPAD. Please join me, ladies and gentlemen, in welcoming Ambassador Dennis Awori to make his remarks this afternoon and assist us to launch Gloceps Strategic Plan 2022-2027. Please welcome, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, Brigadier Kabage. Wow. You know, when they say that it's hard to be the last person to speak, let me tell you, it is when you've had such good speakers ahead of you who have covered the subject so very well. But now that I'm here, I shall give my remarks. So, Executive Director, Board of Directors, our keynote speaker, and yes, I will definitely be inviting you to the launch of our strategic plan to give us that presentation. I think it was very clear, and of course, Professor Grace Njoroge, representing the council, your message was also a very clear message and well received. And the very many distinguished guests and participants, ladies and gentlemen, I am indeed very pleased to join you today on this auspicious occasion of the launch of the Gloceps Strategic Plan for 2022 to 27. And I thank you very much for inviting me to be the chief guest, and I'm actually very, very humbled that you did so. Before I continue, maybe I'll just tell you a little about the group that I work for, and possibly you'll see why I, like our keynote speaker, I consider a good strategic plan that is being followed so important. The group is in 4 business domains: automotive, healthcare, consumer goods, and finally in renewable energy and electronics. So you see, it's very diverse, and yet it has to be run as a cohesive entity, and that's why we consider strategic plans so important. We're also, as you've heard, have the biggest and most comprehensive footprint in Africa. I doubt there's any other company, and now, Brigadier, we're actually in 42 countries and growing, and we are represented in the balance of the countries in Africa. We firmly believe in fact, our motto, we believe in Africa, and our motto is with Africa, for Africa, and in all our businesses, we try to be vertically integrated from production all the way up to, or rather from production all the way down to retail, not just doing importation and retail. And to do all that, a strategic plan is, and one that everybody buys into and delivers on, is vital. So I congratulate Gloceps for coming up with an elaborate strategic plan that will position the center for enhanced contribution to global peace and prosperity. And my address will focus mainly on the role of think tanks in nation building and what it means also for us in the private sector. Over the last 2 decades, the countries on the African continent, and Kenya in particular, have witnessed a rise in the number of think tanks. And these policy research-oriented institutions have had a profound influence on the social, economic, and political landscape of the region. I myself have witnessed firsthand this influence when, as a founding member of the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, we engaged in advocating for reforms in the company law and other business reforms, and through them, trying to get an improved and easier and an improved environment where it's easier to do business. A body similar to yours, and which was mentioned earlier, KIPRA, incubated our organization and actually midwifed it and played a very key role in establishing the organization. And the work they did was so good that right from the outset, KEPSA was a very, very effective advocacy organization. And I strongly believe that it's because of that that His Excellency, the late President Kibaki, appointed me an ambassador. I had no other reason why I would be asked to join the government. I recognize and commend the contribution of Gloceps to debates focusing on the fragility in the Horn of Africa, fisheries, future cities, like our railway city that's coming up soon, hydro governance, free trade, elections management, counter-violent extremism, anti-corruption, and money laundering, among many others. These conversations have been generated through quality policy research and analysis by the Gloceps team, and I commend you and congratulate you for it. And they have enhanced the capacity of policymaking and implementing agencies and strengthened the voices of advocacy institutions. Indeed, the fruits of the center's discussions can be seen in the ongoing Ethiopian peace process, the EAC peacekeeping mission in DRC, the post-election stability in Kenya, increased allocation resources by the government of Kenya to aquaculture, and the ongoing policy interventions to liberalize electricity supply in the country, all of which will lead to a better life for the citizens of our region. The future, therefore, remains bright for Gloceps as it settles down as the go-to think tank in the region. Ladies and gentlemen, for Gloceps to succeed in the increasingly competitive space, its research processes and products should endeavor to communicate policy advice clearly and distinctively, To this end, I encourage Gloceps to strengthen its human and technical capacities, improve its reputational and social capital, and enhance its corporate governance structures and network with the private sector through its business management organizations, civil society organizations, and government agencies. And as it implements its far-looking strategy, we all look forward to seeing Gloceps feature more prominently in the annual listing of the Global Go-To Think Tank Index. Ladies and gentlemen, our sustained development as a country is anchored on the sound strategic planning of think tank organizations. To this end, it is important that think tanks are guided by a clear vision, as we heard, of why they are established and how they hope to achieve their mandate. This is certainly the case for Gloceps, and I once again commend you on the way the center is set up and the high-quality strategic plan that we are launching today. Today's launch of the strategic plan, therefore, plays a central role in defining your chosen trajectory to achieving your vision of becoming the epitome of excellence in research, strategy formulation, and policy influence. As already mentioned, the plan has prioritized research and dissemination of results, resource mobilization, and financial sustainability, as well as human resource and intellectual capacity, strategic engagement and visibility, infrastructure development and maintenance, ICT, very, very important, automation and digitization, and corporate social responsibility as key in its growth trajectory. Likewise, it has developed control mechanisms that will guide its implementation, and this is extremely important, as often organizations develop elaborate, detailed strategic plans but fail to implement them, thus negating the whole reason for making such plans in the first place. As I conclude, I wish to reiterate that the meaningful engagements the center will make as it endeavors to pursue its goals will be the key determinant of the success of this strategy. Such engagements should include networking, collaboration, and exploitation of all resource mobilization opportunities available. I therefore wish to call on the stakeholders present here today in person and virtually to support the center towards the successful implementation of the center's 5-year strategic plan. It will be important for all such you stakeholders, whether from academia, the private sector, or public policy agencies, to stand with Gloceps as it reaches out to you on the implementation of this strategic plan. The work of influencing policy making and advocacy is never ending, and I am sure that such stakeholders will benefit from that work of that the center does. Meanwhile, I am sure that we will all be delighted to see the next issue of the influential bulletin and the 2023 conference proceedings dominated by Gloceps research products. It is therefore my sincere hope that you will open your doors and support the center as it scales the greater heights of policy influence. I close by thanking you, Executive Director and your board, and the staff of Gloceps for inviting me to this great occasion, and all of you for listening to me. And I wish you all a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a prosperous and Happy New Year. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, I request that we all rise again as we give our chief guest another round of clap. Thank you very much. Thank you. We are now moving to the launch event. Dr. Mwangi, please come forward. Please.
Your Excellency, Ambassador Dennis Awori, Madam Nancy Matimu, distinguished delegates, participants, good afternoon. We now come to close to the end of our event. It's the launch of our strategic plan, 2022-2027. I would like to request the events and promotion team to be ready. And I'll request Ambassador Awori, Brigadier Retired Kabage, CEO Nancy Matimu, and the Board of Advisors, Professor Grace Njoroge, to be on the left of the podium. That will be on the left of the podium. And then as soon as we get ready, we will have the unveiling, and some confetti will come very, very closely. So if you could just take your position to the left. We can play some soft music as we usher into this event. I would request the members of the Council of Advisors who are present. I can see Jackie Mbogo and IG Retired Boynet. Please join the table, this side here, please. Sorry, and the board member, I forgot. Could I get the cue that the team is getting ready from events and promotion? All right. Just before that, some music playing. So I would request that perhaps we all be standing so that we can witness this very nice event shortly. I would request Brigadier Retired Kabage and Madam Jackie to press the buzzer, and once you press the buzzer, the other event will process. But let's all the distinguished participants on this table to just come close to this side. And then in 3, 2, 1, press the buzzer, and let's see how the event flows. Press the buzzer. Ambassador Awori and team there. There seems to be a bit of a hitch, just a bit of a minute. That is being rectified. Please just hold on to it a bit. Some technical hitch, you can all be smiling, and we can have some music as well as we enjoy the event. Some music. Just up the volume a little bit. So this is an occasion to celebrate the milestone of a strategic plan. Okay, I do that. Okay, so we'll do the countdown 1. So from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and press the buzzer. Let's see what happens now. Okay. Wow, okay, that is flowing. Congratulations to Gloceps. Maybe we can take a few photos there as we move to the left of the podium. We can take a photo. Please. So as we take the photo, you'll also see that the strategic plan is moving around the podium and emitting some good light. So that marks new beginnings, and we're really grateful that we could have distinguished speakers and guests gracing our occasion. There, ladies and gentlemen, is the launch, the strategic plan 2022-2027, and its themed positioning Gloceps for global prosperity, for enhanced research contribution to global peace and prosperity. Thank you very much. You may resume your seats. We can take a clap. Just before, as you sit, the Executive Director and our Chief Guest, Ambassador Awori, will unveil a copy of the strategic plan. And thereafter, I will request the members of the Global Center for Policy and Strategy team to distribute a copy of the strategic plan. So, sure, that is launched. Some photo session there as we, okay. Thank you very much. You may all resume your seats. And the team will be moving around to distribute a copy of the strategic plan. So you're getting a copy shortly of the strategic plan. I believe we all have copies of that. The next session, as we hold, will be the cake cutting session. I believe the cake is getting ready somewhere. You can take some moment to admire the strategic plan. It's very, very well done. In-house design and input as well. So we're really grateful for the work that has gone into it. So a cake will be here shortly, and it's a good moment. So it's always nice in events like this to culminate with some nice bites. So some cake is just moving to the podium, and hope all of us will be able to enjoy a bit of that piece here. Thank you very much. I'd now like to invite Michael and Judy to support that process of cake cutting. As soon as that is set, we will request our distinguished guests to take charge and distribute the cake.
Thank you so much, Dr. John Mwangi, for that elaborate and very attractive occasion of conducting the launch. Ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, as you can see before you, we have the cake, which is more or less the culmination of our celebration of this launch. And as a few of us can relate in our private lives in one way or another, this is, I could compare it to a commitment during taking of vows, where we are committing to the next 5 years
And we have the certificate, which is a strategic plan to illustrate that we are very serious about this event and this process. And as the matrons usually say, that this process is built around certain pillars. As we continue, even as a journey in the next 5 years, we would be looking forward to executing successfully this plan in line with our 5 research pillars, as clearly illustrated, and dedicating that we're also committed towards the realization of the key results area, the 7 key results areas. Without much further ado, I would like to invite our honorable guest, that is His Excellency Ambassador Denis Awori, the Executive Director for Gloceps, our Chief keynote speaker for today, to join us in the podium. Also, Professor Grace Njoroge, and also members of the Council of Advisors, that includes Madam Jackie, Mrs. Jackie, and also a member of the board present. Yes, and as protocol has already been set, I'd also like to invite IG retired and Ambassador Solomon Maina to join the team. And in this process now, Judy Peters will direct us on how the process will be going, and also the sharing of the same. Thank you very much.
So we'll continue enjoying some music as the cake cutting process is ongoing. But we'll take a photo to remember that moment. And some confetti will also be rolling to showcase that. Is it not a lovely moment to enjoy the cake? Sure, we can a round of applause as we enjoy the cake cutting process. Some music playing in the background. So the cake matron will proceed by first serving our chief guest, our executive director, and members of the and our keynote speaker as well in that order. So cheers to a happy 5 years in implementing the new strategic plan. So as soon as everybody has a share, we can all proceed to enjoy the cake. And cheers to Gloceps. You may stand and applause for this moment, if you don't mind. I'm sure the cake is very sweet, but it will get to all of us at some point, right? Keep going. Thank you. You may resume your seats, and then we'll distribute the cake. Thank you for taking part in that. So the Gloceps team will continue to cut the cake as we share it with our distinguished guests this evening. The next session will be on gifts presentation, and I would request the team handling the gifts to be on board. I would like to request Ambassador Awori and Brigadier Kabage to come to the podium for the presentation of the gift of the chief guest. Our camera crew, please be on standby. We do it on this side? Okay. So to the right is considered right. So as soon as our camera crew is ready, please either hand over the gift to Executive Director, who will then hand it over to our chief guest, Ambassador Awori. A clap of appreciation. Thank you, sir. That will be sure. You may resume your seats. I would like now to invite Mr. Samuel Otieno, who is a non-resident fellow, to pass the vote of thanks. And thereafter, we'll proceed for the photo session, which will later be followed by the reception.
Mine is to do the last thing here, which is actually moving a vote of thanks to our chief guest, Ambassador Dennis Awori, Chairman, CFAO Kenya Limited, Brigadier, retired Dr. Robert Kabage, CEO, Gloceps, keynote speaker, Madam Nancy Matimu, CEO, MultiChoice, Lieutenant retired SK Njoroge, Ambassador Mahbub Maalim, former Secretary General IGAD, Gloceps Board of Director members, Gloceps Council of Advisors, Gloceps Associates, distinguished guests, all protocols observed, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I feel honored to be invited to give the vote of thanks at this gathering as we launch the Gloceps Strategic Plan 2022-2027. I'm particularly grateful to our chief guest, Ambassador Dennis Awori, for creating time of his busy schedule to attend this occasion and deliver his remarkable address on the role of think tanks in nation building. We are humbled by the practical reflections from our keynote speaker, Madam Nancy Matimu, CEO MultiChoice, on the role of strategic plan in organizational management. We cannot fail to appreciate the Executive Director and management team for providing leadership in the development of this plan. To the board of Gloceps, we are immensely grateful for providing resources. Our gratitude for your unflinching support and effort for the successful development and launch of the strategic plan has been immense. We look forward to your further support during the implementation phase. We are indebted to Centre's Council of Advisors for being resolute and supportive of our bid to create a premier policy research think tank. Specifically, we would like to thank Professor Grace Njoroge, Professor Gerald Ouma, Ambassador Engineer Mahabud Maalim, and IG retired Mr. Joseph Boynet for making time to attend. We appreciate the Centre's team of non-resident fellows for making time and attending this strategic launch. Equally, we appreciate the staff of Gloceps for immense contribution towards this occasion. I wish to salute our distinguished experts and guests. Allow me to give special recognition to His Excellency the Ambassador of Qatar, who was represented for gracing the occasion. We would like to thank the management and staff of Radisson Blu Hotel for providing us with the space and being a wonderful host for this launch. We acknowledge that in an event like this, we might have inadvertently missed out some of the names. It is not intended to diminish or overlook your useful contribution, which we immensely appreciate. We look forward to continuing this partnership. May the good times and treasures of the present become the golden memories of tomorrow. As we race towards the Christmas festivities of the new year, may your peace, health, happiness, and prosperity prevail. Thank you all, and may God bless you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you very much. We have come to the end of our event. We kindly request you to join us for a photo session just at the entrance. And I extend the invitation of the Executive Director to a reception immediately after that. I want to again reiterate that we have a gift for each one of you. Kindly, our team will give you your gift. Please don't leave it behind. We wish you Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Thank you very much.
Good evening. We shall be having a photo session just opposite where we were taking our lunch. We have Gloceps team that will lead us to the photo session.